They told you humanity began in Africa around 300,000 years ago, with primitive Homo sapiens roaming the savannas. But what if that's only part of the story? What if buried beneath the official narrative lies a forgotten chapter of lost civilizations, ancient monuments beyond explanation, and knowledge passed down from sources not of this earth? Let's start with the undeniable. Göbekli Tepe, located in modern-day Turkey, is the oldest known megalithic site in the world, dated to at least 9,600 BCE. That's over 7,000 years older than the Great Pyramid of Giza and predates Stonehenge by millennia. This site was built not by settled farmers or organized kingdoms, but supposedly by nomadic hunter-gatherers, who, according to mainstream archaeology, lacked writing, agriculture, the wheel, and metal tools. Yet, Göbekli Tepe contains multi-ton T-shaped pillars arranged in perfect circular patterns, engraved with high-relief images of animals, abstract symbols, and humanoid figures. Some stones weigh over 50 tons and were transported from a nearby quarry. Researchers like Klaus Schmidt, who led the excavation until his death in 2014, confirmed that the site had been intentionally buried around 8,000 BCE, a fact that raises more questions than it answers. Why would ancient people build such a monumental temple only to cover it up? One theory is that Göbekli Tepe was a sacred site used for astronomical observations. In 2017, researchers proposed that the animals carved into the stones represent constellations, encoding a date corresponding to the Younger Dryas impact event, a catastrophic comet strike theorized to have occurred around 10,800 BCE, triggering global climate shifts and massive floods. This links Göbekli Tepe to the global flood myths found in over 200 cultures, from the Epic of Gilgamesh to the biblical story of Noah to Hindu texts describing the Great Deluge. But what if survivors of that event preserved knowledge in places like Göbekli Tepe? What if the builders weren't hunter-gatherers at all, but remnants of a lost civilization? That's where the legend of Mu enters the story. In the early 20th century, James Churchward, a British colonel and writer, claimed he had discovered ancient tablets in India describing a vast continent in the Pacific Ocean called Mu. According to him, Mu was the original cradle of civilization, home to a spiritually advanced people called the Nakals, who spread knowledge to Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Americas before their homeland sank beneath the sea. Mainstream science dismisses Mu entirely. There's no geological evidence of a sunken continent in the Pacific, and Churchward's translations of the so-called Nakal tablets have never been independently verified. Yet, curious artifacts continue to spark interest. On the Micronesian island of Pohnpei, ruins of Nan Madol, an ancient city built of basalt columns on a coral reef, defy easy explanation. Over 250 million pounds of stone were transported and stacked without mortar in a style unlike anything nearby. Who built it? When? How? Then there's the Piri Reis map, drawn in 1513, which appears to show the coastline of Antarctica, centuries before it was officially discovered and, crucially, without its ice cap. According to the U.S. Air Force cartographer Charles Hapgood, this map could only have been based on source materials from a seafaring civilization with advanced cartographic knowledge, possibly dating back to 10,000 BCE or earlier. Even more controversial are the claims that certain genetic traits in modern humans, such as the sudden expansion of cranial capacity, symbolic thinking, and advanced tool use, developed too quickly to be explained by natural selection alone. Authors like Graham Hancock and Eric von Däniken suggest a possible intervention, whether by an earlier human species or an extraterrestrial intelligence. The ancient Sumerians wrote of gods called the Anunnaki, who descended from the heavens and taught humanity agriculture, astronomy, and governance. In Mesoamerica, the god Quetzalcoatl arrived from the east, bringing knowledge and civilization. Across the globe, myths speak of sky beings or shining ones who walked among humans in a forgotten time. Is it all myth? Perhaps. But the similarities are striking. In India's ancient Sanskrit texts, flying machines called vimanas engaged in battles across the skies. In Egypt, the pyramid texts describe gods traveling in boats of fire. Even in Turkish mythology, Tengri, the sky god, descended to guide humanity. And what about the unexplained? In Bolivia, the ruins of Pumapunku showcase massive stone blocks cut with laser-like precision, interlocking in a way that modern engineers still debate. Some blocks weigh over 100 tons, yet were moved without wheels or beasts of burden. On Easter Island, the Moai statues face inland, not outward, possibly protecting something or someone. All these clues, Göbekli Tepe, Mu, Nanmadol, the Piri Reis map, flood myths, ancient flying machines, point to a global pattern that human civilization is older, more advanced, and more mysterious than we're taught. Is it possible that after a great cataclysm, scattered survivors passed down fragments of knowledge, some of which resurfaced in Sumer, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and Mesoamerica? Is it possible that we're not the first technological civilization on Earth? Or that someone, something, helped guide our species in prehistory? Mainstream archaeology resists these ideas for lack of direct evidence, and rightly so. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. But open questions remain. Why was Göbekli Tepe buried? Who mapped Antarctica before it was frozen? Why do disconnected ancient cultures build pyramids, align structures to solstices, and repeat the same star myths? In 2023, new excavations in Karahan Tepe, just 35 kilometers from Göbekli, revealed even older human-made structures, including a life-size humanoid statue with strange proportions and symbolism. With every discovery, the timeline of human history pushes further back, and the mystery deepens. Maybe humanity did start in Africa, but what happened after May involved chapters we've only begun to uncover. Perhaps our distant ancestors weren't just primitive survivors, but the inheritors, or maybe even the remnants, of something lost, something global, something ancient, something waiting to be remembered.